So welcome everybody to our workshop tonight. It's a free class and it's called How to Get Unstuck. Or you can also call it How to Follow Your Dreams, How to Follow Your Fulfillment. And we have a lot of people here tonight. And I interviewed them already and asked them, what do you want to get unstuck from? So it's about relationships, obviously. It's about a certain lifestyle, career, financially, family overreaching came up, having some tools to stay focused, and also wanting to be motivated, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so on. So it's good that you already have an idea what getting unstuck means for you, even though you might not be aware how you do it yet. The how comes always later. And when I was thinking about tonight, sometimes this happens when I'm thinking about it, contemplating, something came through. And I thought, okay, I start with that first, even though I actually wrote down a lot of other things. But I knew already who would be here, and I don't know who's on the other side, but it doesn't matter. What came through is thought, feelings, and emotions can move mountains. So after everybody told me that they would come, and I always trust, I always check what comes through when I know who's coming. What do I need to say, even though I might not even know why I'm saying that in the moment? So that's a very old teaching, if you want to say that, or a phrase. Thoughts, emotions, and feelings can move mountains. So that means when we have fear, this can move mountains when it's connected to thoughts that bring us forward, and we talk about this tonight. And also, fear is an emotion. So we might also have feelings of being dissatisfied, let's take that, or disappointed, or feelings of sadness or something like that. Sadness is actually more an emotion. So whenever we feel and have emotions, we can create thoughts that take us to the next level of where we want to move towards to. Does that make sense so far? So that helps us not to get just overwhelmed. That can easily happen. Or that we go into denial. Oh, I don't want to feel fear. I don't want to feel dissatisfied because actually I should do this, this and this. That doesn't help. So when we can be honest and brave, we allow these emotions. Do you want to hear the emotions? It's either sadness or fear or joy or anger, or one is missing. I come to that probably later. And the feelings are everything else. So when we feel that, we want to allow ourselves to be honest with it and to do something with it. We don't want to overemphasize it, but we also don't want to avoid it. So very often we have already thoughts when we feel something, when there is an emotion. Like for example, not that anybody said that, I just give an example that I think a lot of people say from the private sessions and from the workshops, is that people say, I don't know how to do it. Or this is the way things are. I can't change it anyway. This is what I have to live with. And maybe when I say that to you, you might think that for yourself too. I don't know how to find a way out. And in order to find a way out at all, it's very important to have a goal. I know that a lot of ancient teachings said, okay, it's good not to have any expectation or not to want anything at all. And sometimes you might feel like I disagree with the ancient teachings, and sometimes I totally agree. And I want to invite you not to just buy into what I tell you. I want to invite you to see what's your truth around it. And how can old belief systems hold you back or push you forward? Does that make sense? So, to have a goal is very important. It can be a relationship goal. I want a certain kind of relationship, or I want to, some people said not just a couple relationship, it's also the family and other stuff, maybe friends, family of origin. I want that this is different. And it's very important to have a goal that has to do with you. So when you have a goal that your husband is not this kind of man anymore, then you have a goal for somebody else. That doesn't work, right? But sometimes it happens that we have a goal for somebody else, for our children, for our mothers and fathers, for our brothers and sisters, for our friends, for our husbands and wives, right? And we miss out that we can only have goals for ourselves. And that's not so easy for many people, because a lot of people are not used and not raised in a belief system, in a reality where it's allowed to put yourself into the center and to think about that. And when you have a goal, and this goal is high enough, and I don't say unreachable. When I say high enough, I mean that when this goal is worthwhile, you elevate your standards, you elevate yourself. Somebody asked me about motivation tonight. You can only be motivated when it's worth going there. Because as soon as you have a goal, it might take you out of certain relationships. It might take you out of certain living circumstances, maybe even a certain environment, and so on, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it even takes you out of your job because it's not your goal anymore. That can be very scary. Very scary. Fears are not bad. They are healthy when we know how to use them as a catalyst for change. And this is why a goal always has to have something to do with ourselves and has to be worthwhile. And I think everybody has had that in their life. I have had it for sure, that I actually wanted something and I thought, oh my God, I can't want that. Because if I want that, then that means that I have to leave this and this and this behind, and I have to step out of my comfort zone, I have to learn a new language, and so on and so on. You know what? It's very important to become aware and to create a space for what makes it worthwhile. And this is something that we can't do in just 20 minutes or so. There are classes for that in private sessions, but nevertheless, while you're listening, you can already ask yourself, what makes it worthwhile for me to go there at all? Because that way you create a disbalance. I call it disbalance. You might say imbalance. I like disbalance. A disbalance between the pain of letting go and the pleasure of what you receive. When you create this disbalance of the pleasure of what you receive and make that big, and this is still there, but this is so much bigger that you overcome your own self-sabotage programs and go towards that somehow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's important to have a goal that is worthwhile. And I have a question. You don't have to share it though now. We can talk about that later when we go into a discussion. Is everybody aware of a goal that has to do with them? Everybody? Very good. And that is worthwhile. Who isn't? So that I know. You're not sure yet? Okay. So, when you're not sure yet, I want to give you now tools, of course. You probably are sure, and I'm sure that there are people out there who have the same, because I don't know anybody who has never had that. You think about what you don't want anymore. Does that work? You see? You think about what you don't want anymore. Because this is good enough for now. You have heard probably, oh no, you're not supposed to think about what you don't want, and you always have to be positive and say things positively and stuff. Forget it. You know, at least that's not my impression at all. And when I work with people, that's never how it is. Knowing what you don't want is the first step out of it, or to create a space at all. What would I want if I opened up a place for that? And I don't have to be sure. It might even change again. You don't have to be married to your desires or goals or wishes, yeah? Because they might change as you change. When you know what you don't want, and you don't know yet what you want, that doesn't mean that you're stuck. It can be that you need to rest and rehabilitate, heal, regenerate. That doesn't mean that you're stuck. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You don't have to chase something just to fill the space. That's very important. Yeah? You can rest and still be in a flow where you allow yourself to contemplate about, to find out. And that helps usually. Yeah, no problem. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah.
Good, let me see. So I also said, when I was sending out an email that we're going to have, that is that we access our most accomplished self. How do we access our most accomplished self? It is usually when we dare to allow ourselves to ask ourselves, what do I really, really want? No matter if I think that I can achieve it or not. Because when you go too much and too fast into how do I then achieve it, you usually cut yourself off from this most accomplished self. The most accomplished self, that can be anything. That can be in relationships, you know, and it can be in the finances, in career, in anything. And that you dare to dream about this, that you dare to imagine it. Because when you imagine it as if it had already happened, you really do something with your nervous system. Mm-hmm. This is very well researched even in neurology. Yeah? So when you, even with your genes, with your DNA, so when you imagine it, look how powerful it is when we imagine fearfully what could happen that we are afraid of most. It's like, you know, nothing has changed. Probably you're still sitting here and you're safe in the moment, but just thinking about it opens up a lot of fear, fight, and flight patterns, right? It is as powerful as it is in this, it is in the other direction. And this is also a tool that I would like to share, is that check where you go in your mind. Because it's so easy to go into the old memory files of misery and to get swept over by it, you know, like overwhelmed by it. and to experience it as real. And it has a lot to do with how our brain memorizes things. We can't talk about that too much because that's too short this evening. But I want to tell you about this. You have to watch what you think, and you have to find an alternative to interrupt it. Just for tonight. That's the short version. And this alternative usually includes what I have said before and what you have said before. It includes what you were thinking about already, what you might want, or what you're dreaming about, or what you would like to let go of. You know, when you don't know yet what you want, you can create a let go of or a letting go file, which you gradually fill up with a content. That you have one at all instead of the fear, instead of the dissatisfaction, instead of the sadness, anger, or whatever else comes up in your emotions. That's very important. And usually, most people don't know about that, so that they don't make like a prophylactic exercise, you know, a prevention exercise, where they ask themselves, what do I want instead? So that they can actually use it in the emergency. Does that make sense? It makes sense to everybody. If not, let me know, because it might help, just in case it doesn't make sense to other people too. And so when we dare to acknowledge what we don't want anymore, as well as our goals, we elevate ourselves towards that somehow. Makes sense too, right? It's very good. So let's talk about the self-fulfilling prophecies, because when you already live it, like when I had something I wanted to teach in Hawaii, for example. Let's take that. I was living in Germany and I wanted to teach in Hawaii on the other side of the planet, because this is so obvious that somebody wants that, you know, okay. So, but I wanted it. There was no way that I wouldn't do it. So, this is another thing. It's very important when you want it, go for it and cut other things off that are in the way. So what I was doing, because I was speaking German all the time, my English was really bad, and it was in front of professors and stuff, so I thought, oh, and they were from the counseling association, oh my God. You know, so there was a lot to be afraid of. There was a lot of emotion that was very overwhelming. So that was this here. But then the imagination to teach in Hawaii and to be there 4 times in a year and not to have to be in the German winter, that was too good. You know, that was so good. So the pleasure was so much more in what to expect, you know. There was so much more. So what I did, I imagined it like a skier, you know, before they go into the Olympics, you know, and then they ski. They already imagine how they're doing their slaloms and stuff, you know. So all these athletes do it too, because it's very popular. But on a normal, everyday basis, you very often don't know that this is a tool that everybody can do. You don't need extra money for that. You can imagine that you're already doing it. And what's important is, it's not just sitting there and imagining, oh, that doesn't work. It has to come with all the feelings, people, and with all the emotions. Otherwise it's just, I mean it. Nobody believes that, right? Makes sense? So it has to come with all the emotions. So I was imagining how I feel, how afraid I was, and you know, stepping for air and stuff. And I was imagining how satisfying it was to show the counselors techniques that are faster, you know, and more precise and more tailored and more, maybe respectful to the individual person or so, and how they can go into the unknown, and how they want this, and it happened. It happened. So I allowed myself to feel the fear, of course, but also this big bubble of joy, and it happened. Makes sense, because you program yourself already into the here and now. So sometimes we don't know yet what we want, maybe what kind of car or so. I'm from southern Germany, from Stuttgart, so it's clear what kind of car I want. I want a Mercedes-Benz, but not everybody has it so easy. Yeah. So sometimes we want what the whole environment wants, but that's not what we want. So it can be very tricky. So it's important to ask yourself, what do I really want? And how do I want to feel about it? You can even ask that, I think, now, even though you don't know what you want in details, maybe where to live, or what kind of car, or what kind of relationship, or career, or finances and stuff. But you can also already see how you want to feel about it. So, there's another key for you. Whenever you are dissatisfied, then there is a cry for change. Whenever you are dissatisfied, it's a cry for change. So, let's say you know already that you feel dissatisfied, and you might fear something, that might be the emotion. So you have a feeling, you have the emotion, and your thought goes into, I don't want to feel like that anymore. How do I want to feel instead? I want to feel fulfilled, happy, loved, abundant, that I can talk to somebody and be heard, maybe. Yeah. I want to be motivated. I want a financial so-called stability. I want to feel stable about that. I don't know how that looks like in numbers on my account, but I can feel how stability feels. You bring in the emotion into the here and now. You don't have to know the details. And actually I would like to offer now everybody, no matter where you are, if you're here or there, you never know who's watching, so that was on purpose. That you take a moment and you go into what kind of emotions you want to have. Does that work for you? What kind of feelings? Where do you feel it in the body? What kind of thoughts? If it was in your hands, what kind of thoughts do you want to be there that accompany these emotions and these feelings? And you don't answer it to me, you answer that to yourself.